Mark, preparing for another draft has got to be an exciting time of year, but probably even a little bit more so this year, being that the Kings have the 5th overall pick going into the draft, and then another pick later in the first round, the 22nd.
It's certainly a new territory for us. We haven't been here for almost 10 years, probably. Yeah, it's nice that you can. I think you can affect the direction of the franchise when you're picking A early and B multiple times in the first round. At picking late, or in the years we haven't had, we've been multiple years we haven't had first round picks, it's hard to affect the direction of the team with your picks. It's more like you're complementing what's there, or you're filling secondary holes. The 5th pick obviously will go a long way in terms of directing us back up to the upper echelon of the league, and then 22 is certainly you've seen with Campari last year. It looks like he's going to have a direct effect on the team in the near future. So it's exciting that you can actually affect the direction of the team.
And when you look at the resources that you have at hand now, as opposed to maybe the last time when the Kings had the early first round pick, analytics and things like that, how much more are you learning about these kids to kind of pinpoint your pick?
Oh, it's certainly. I mean, we used analytics back then. We didn't use the fancy terms and everything. But again, the analytics we used back then was, it's like 2001: Space Odyssey. We're banging on that. We're banging on that rock obelisk with bones.
Yeah.
Now we have things that have all. The things we did use that we still are using have stood 10 years worth of time. So they're tested, and the things we used didn't work are gone. So we're right at an advantage there. And then you now have things like like Rob Bulmer, who's doing the analytics, and you now have his numbers, which are 20 years true, and he's a mathematical mind, where some of us are more left-brained or whatever. So there are, I don't want to say an infinite number, but there are quite a few things at our disposal that we wouldn't have even thought of back then, and even if we thought of, I don't know that we would have had the ability to put into place.
You look at this past year, we saw the league transition to becoming a fast, quick game. That's all you heard all year. And yet, when it came down to the Stanley Cup final, there's kind of two more traditional type teams, heavier teams that play that rugged style. Does that change any way the way that you guys have looked at things from the way the season went to the way the finals finished out?
Yes and no. I still, again, we all read things, we all listen to things. You hear how the Kings were built, you hear how the Kings won, you hear the type. No one has ever said how we built our team. I've still never read how we built our team in a publication, or listened to a prognosticator or a person. They built big, heavy teams, and they went and did this, they did that. No one's ever had our philosophy back when Dean did.
Yeah.
We certainly want, if you can have a big player that does A or a small player that does A, you want the big player that does A. But what you want is the player that does A. When we had A, B, and C, that was the way to build, and we won that way. It just so happened that we were also fortunate enough to get the bigger players who did it, and the bigger players were good at what we did. But I don't think our philosophy changes. I don't think we evolved enough after that second cup in our thinking. But I don't know that, I don't think that you blow it up. I don't think that it's, just what you said. St. Louis and Boston are big, heavy teams. Well, there's a whole bunch of other stuff they are too.
Yeah.
You look at their backlines, you look at the way they establish speed, the way they establish pace, the way they create. They were doing things that some big teams didn't do in the past, and other big teams did do in the past. It's not a one-size-fits-all Band-Aid in terms of size, heaviness, but I don't think you can ever get away from that. You just have to find the balance, and you have to find a way to build your team. And obviously, I think we got stuck in neutral a little bit because we thought we had built the perfect mousetrap, and you never have the perfect mousetrap. So I don't think you abandon the past, but I think you maybe embrace some, and you've seen it in our drafts in the last few years too. There's been some guys that we haven't taken in the past that we have, but we haven't abandoned everything. But I certainly think that we've expanded the way we think you can win, or the way we think you need to be to win. So I think that just it will feed off of that. We'll continue to evolve and read NHL tea leaves, but not abandon it. Rob's philosophy is slightly different than Dean's philosophy. They hold some of the similarities, and Rob has his unique differences of how he thinks you need to build a winning team. So now we incorporate that thought into our thoughts, and we try to give him the best version of, the attributes he wants.
Well, we know it's going to be an exciting day for you and for the Kings fans out there, but for the Kings staff, and we look forward to seeing the way the first round plays out.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks a lot.